When you're ready.
Okay. Drugs. Have a headache? Tylenol should fix that. Joint pain or muscle pain is easily solved by little. Pepto-Bismol can fix your stomach ache, and Advil can numb most pains. Drugs obviously are a vital part of the modern world, and can do much more than fix everyday aches and pains. However, simply by saying the word drugs, everyone is caught off guard. Why is that? Simply put, people are rarely prepared to bring up drugs so abruptly due to their negative connotation. The same concept is extremely potent in business. Businesses often fail because of things they are not prepared for. Agricultural businesses seem to always get taken by surprise by heavy winds, hail, droughts, floods, or diseases. Other businesses, such as car dealerships, can also be poorly disrupted by weather. Any company in the stock market can be extremely affected by fluctuations in the exchange, and governments, which are their own forms of business, can be surprised by a number of different things, such as foreign relations. While none of these events are 100% preventable, companies that are poorly prepared for them can suffer much more than had they been prepared. There are 9 main goals in FBLA There are 9 main goals that FBLA tries to achieve, all preparing youth for a successful future. The 9th goal, facilitate the transition from school to work, sums up everything that FBLA tries to achieve, to prepare youth for a successful future in the competitive world of business. So obviously, preparedness is a vital part of FBLA. Beyond this, the first goal of FBLA is to develop competent, aggressive business leadership. It is impossible to be a competent leader of anything without being prepared, at least to a certain extent. Circling back to my introduction, the word drugs does serve a purpose beyond simply catching your attention. I recently had a personal experience with drugs and preparedness. The 3rd day of this last Christmas break, I noticed there were 4 red sores on my forehead. I instantly thought it was just zits, but being a wrestler, I wanted to avoid any possible chance of injury. So my family scheduled an appointment at my doctor's office the very next morning. Unfortunately, even as we made steps to prevent the potential disease, my forehead exploded with red sores overnight. When seeing the doctor the next day, I was prescribed with an antibiotic, which didn't exactly do the job that I expected of it. 2 days later, I was in the emergency room because the infection had migrated into my eye. I stayed in the ER all day that day, running test after test, and eventually given a triple dose of an antibiotic, as well as 2 more prescriptions to take home. Wanting to be extra careful and prepare for all possible outcomes, one of the prescriptions the doctors gave me was an antiviral medication. I am extremely fortunate that these doctors gave me that prescription, because a week later, I found out that this disease was in fact a virus. Had I not had the proper steps taken to prevent the worst outcome possible, my disease could have gotten much worse, spread further on my face, caused permanent damage to my eye, and if left untreated for a long time, the virus could have moved into my nervous system and caused paralysis or even death. The same concept of preparing for extreme cases has saved countless lives outside of my personal experience. A recent example of this is a tragedy that happened in Illinois this last September. In the Mattoon High School, just outside of Charleston, Illinois, a troubled male student opened fire in the school's cafeteria. It is tremendously lucky that one of the teachers, named Angela McQueen, was able to think quickly. Due to training and drills, McQueen was able to subdue the young boy. Thanks to the teacher being prepared for the worst possible situation, a school shooting, there were no lives lost. I can name countless examples in which preparation saved lives through medicine, medical training, drills for natural disasters, and other training. But seeing as this is a business speech, I will address a few examples that strictly relate to business. Earlier, I mentioned farmers being ill-prepared for natural disasters, but in today's world of farming, there are options for farmers to be prepared for these catastrophes, such as off-site storage and insurance for their crops. Likewise, car dealerships can have insurance and structures protecting their cars. Companies involved in the stock market can prepare for fluctuations by distributing where their money is and by hiring people with knowledge of the stock market and in business. Each of these examples of preparedness in business is modeled by numerous goals in FBLA. They are examples of competent, aggressive business leadership. They demonstrate interest in and understanding of American business enterprise. They are examples of efficient money management, and since all are concepts taught in schools, they demonstrate the transition from school to work. With the help of FBLA, I am confident in the future of America. The members of this great organization will be more prepared for all possible outcomes in their business than any other generation in the past. I personally feel extremely fortunate to be part of this organization preparing our youth. And because of FBLA, I know I will always be prepared for the worst. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Question on the PBL goals. Do you have to incorporate all of them in there?
No, just one or more.
Okay. So you started off with drugs.
Yeah.
I would almost move that down and start with your preparedness, the way you talked about how preparedness is one of the.
Okay.
And the only reason I say this is because it makes your topic think that it's going to be about drugs, and that's all you're going to talk about.
Okay.
And you had really, really good examples of different things that were in there, so instead of setting the precedence, so, because at first I got really confused, and this is this one I judged last year. It always threw me off when that PBL goal came in there, I'm like, there's no sync to it, but I thought you made adjustment from last year, because
Yeah.
I remember
changed
your,
the
yeah,
entire
you made
speech
an
'cause-
adjustment to make sure that it does flow a little bit better, but I would almost, I mean, that's just my
Yeah.
opinion of just starting and saying, starting off with what the FBLA thing is, or the PBL thing, and then you have great examples in your speech that tie into being prepared, and then your personal story, I love it. It was personal.
Yeah.
I did like your example, and I like your transition, and I disagree with her on that, sorry.
That's okay, no, that's
But
okay.
see, I think that's kind of the beast of this event though, is that it's like job
judge you.
interview, it's personal preference.
Because you do, kind of like we talked about with the last group, you need an attention getter, and that was. Because knowing that we're gonna be at the competition, knowing that 98.99999% of these topics are going to be business related, that was not. So that was an attention getter, as opposed to throwing in with the basic business concept, basic on whole business ethic, this, whatever. That was a completely different focus on what he's talking about now, and how is he gonna tie drugs into this presentation?
And he did, I thought the
He did. The
transition was
transition
really
was
good,
awesome.
but then you went on completely different topics other than drugs. And so that's the part that threw me off, because I thought the whole speech would be about drugs and tying in the PBL piece to drugs. That's what kind of threw me off, is then, so I agree though that, you want an attention getter. You had great topics, it's just that one piece on how you incorporate that, it is very, very tricky. If you can figure out how to do it, then that's great. And so maybe not doing it at the beginning, maybe you do it at the end.
Maybe kind of adjust it in between the two or
Yeah.
whatever. Not quite at the beginning, you still have your attention, but maybe introduce it sooner than what you did.
It's a very
Okay.
awkward thing to throw in there, but
Right.
yeah.
I
You
felt
were-
like you could eliminate something and just kind of slow it down. I mean, you did
Yeah.
a good job with a lot of material, but you're putting
How
a
close
lot
was he on
out
his
there in
time?
5 minutes.
5:10.
If there's a little piece you just cut and then just kind of.
Well, he has till 5:29, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion of what part that
Well,
would
you
be?
had, and I forget, I can't remember exactly what they were, but there were like 3 different examples. I think you were kind of touched on it where I'm like, wait a minute, what is this speech
Okay.
about? So maybe one of those.
Gotcha.
Everything was tied to drugs or, I don't know. I always think of an example as like Kodak, right? Whenever you think of preparedness. They were the original inventors of the digital technology, and then they chose not to go down that path. Somebody else created, came into it, and Kodak virtually went out of business because of it. When I think about business and preparedness, and I was kind of thinking going down that path, and then it did kind of bounce a little bit, like you said, on the 3 topics. They were all good stories, but again, I thought it was gonna be about drugs, and 50% of it was, and then the other 50% wasn't, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You did a good job of speaking, though.
Thank you very much.
Yes, slow down for
Yeah.
sure. You had
Okay.
a little bit of time, I agree with Christian on that. You were
Yeah.
fast, I thought for sure you weren't gonna make time. But you made time, you were at 5:10, Davies, is that what you have?
Yes.
I didn't get it started right away, so I was 5:04, but.
And that's a good spot to be in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
that's
5:10.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Since we're on that, let's just have Taya. Taya, why don't you come over real quick? So Taya is sophomore, so she's kind of the same idea. I don't know which one. And she's still working on the conception of her speech. And so she's gonna read to us what she has. We'll We save equal time